Welcome back to the Backseat Startup Podcast with your host, Andrew Hutton.
Welcome back, everyone. Andrew here, host of the Backseat Startup, and I'm excited to welcome you to this episode. I'm joined by Jason Curry, the co-founder of Comigo, which is an AI companion for folks with ADHD. This is so cool what Jason and his team are building. I'm so excited for you to get to know Jason, get to know Comigo, and to do what we do, which is to help founders and startups on the internet by answering some questions that we find on Reddit. So, Jason, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, as we do, I'd love for all of our listeners to get to know you and really what you're doing with Comigo, because you're doing some really good work, solving some really, really awesome challenges. Tell us about what you're building and what Comigo is doing.
Sure. Yeah. So our goal is to build, I have ADHD myself, and it's impacted me quite a bit over the years. And so our vision is to build an AI companion. We say the most powerful and effective AI companion for people with ADHD, or even subclinical ADHD, meaning just sort of a part of the collective attention deficit that's affecting a lot of us because of modern life, social media, and whatnot. So the vision for that is to be like a voice companion, similar, like I say, to Jarvis from Iron Man or the computer from Star Trek, where it's just someone you can talk to that's always there with you 24/7, that can give you advice and is well trained specifically on issues, challenges that you may be facing, and gives you judgment-free advice. I think that's one of the things people appreciate the most, because with sort of being neurodivergent or other sort of mental health issues, you can get a lot of judgment along with that from humans that are helping you, but unless they're professionals. But yeah, so there's that part of it in there. And then that's really the underlying core of what we're trying to build. But then it helps you just with everything: short-term, long-term planning, self-awareness of where, in particular with ADHD, among the symptoms, like where you present the most, where you need the most work. So we don't want to create dependency on Comigo itself. We really wanted to help you in the here and now, and then, but really help you get better and improve in areas where you want to improve.
It's so cool. This is the sort of AI that I think we all know is coming, right? When we think about what, we've started to experience the kind of magic of a ChatGPT, and you don't have to be super technical. I'm not technical, and you can imagine, oh, we can do things, right? This is, we're passing the Turing test. This is happening. Maybe this doesn't pass the Turing test, but it's helpful. It's effective. It does enough of the job. And when we were chatting before the show, you're telling me this is like 8 weeks in. So you guys, you and your team are moving fast, which is really exciting. And you already have significant signups. So tell us a little bit about how it's been going. Like, what have you launched? Where are you in this journey of building and launching Comigo?
Sure. Yeah. So I've done this venture funded startup before, and it didn't really work out. I've been in the space building products, but just over the years, and especially with the last thing I did, we really accumulated a lot of a big don't do this list, or learnings that we made that everyone makes. But so we really set out with this because it's so personally close, because I have the condition myself, and really want to help a lot of people. So I'm like, we got to do this properly. Like, what should we do to do it the best way possible? So one of the big things was, speed, getting a product built like ASAP, even if it was, a proof of concept in the beginning. And so we really lived by that. I mean, we basically launched with, you could sign in with Google. And then once you got in, it was like, hey, this is going to go here and this is going to go here. There was really not much more than that. But even at that level, it's interesting because you can get people to sign in at that level as long as you tell them, this is what it is. And then I think they sort of get that buy-in because it's like, wow, this is really the ground floor of something. So they really get excited by that. Yeah. And it just sort of built it from there. And we've set up some social media accounts. And of course, I'm part of some ADHD groups and whatnot. So here and there, we've gotten some promotion. And then, but we've gotten up to 2,200 users. Yeah. In 8 weeks.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, you were telling me before, there's deeper metrics that you're tracking, retention.
Mm-hmm.
You're not done, right?
Oh,
this is, but it's such a good start, and it's And it kind of just shows like, whenever I think about startups, early stages, they're always testing two things. One is, does this resonate at the like point of, hey, here's the thing. 2,200 people are saying like, I'm going to jump through a few hoops. We're going to get involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
However you've sold it to me. And then does it work, right? Is this actually going to keep doing the thing? And you've started to have metrics that show both 2,200 people on board and some serious or some, solid, traction that says you're in the right direction. So
Yeah.
I just want to like, call all that out to say kudos to all of this. Talk to me a little bit about, I mean, again, it's another piece of the puzzle that I know about is this is a husband and wife effort. So like how did you, like, what's your background that led to this? You mentioned you've done venture backed startup before. But yeah, what kind of like led you to basically having this, not just the idea, but just some of the journey that gets you here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, a lot of it came from just interactions. Well, my wife she comes from an entrepreneurial family. And then, so like, yeah, when we started dating, I think 3 months in, we had like a business together a long time ago, but it's pretty funny. Yeah. But then we had, our main business we've had, was an app development studio that we had in New York for like 10 years. And, we just worked together like side by side. I think, we were co-CEOs, but for some reason at different times that was frowned upon to be called that or whatever. But so we didn't like make it announced or whatever. But yeah, we just learned, yeah. And then, yeah, I have ADHD, and then we learned working together. She was frustrated by some of the way that I did things, or forgetfulness and whatnot, and other issues. But then we noticed working together in sort of a thing called body doubling, that people talk about in ADHD, just sitting there having her kind of like keep an eye on me basically, or like, hey, what are you working on? Don't do that. Just focus on this thing. It worked extremely well. And so we had always thought to make like an app for ADHD, and we kind of logged different things and did research, but there was like something missing, like where it was like, it just didn't work. But then when, ChatGPT became popular, and then I started using that late last year, then I saw right away that was the piece that was missing. That, and also I think, in my opinion, the voice part of it too, like Alexa or Siri, but much, much better. And then, yeah, so really that's that vision to have that in there.
That's so cool. I mean, just the little bit that people are listening and hearing, Jason, about you, your story, the fact that, like, I think one of the most fascinating things about doing this podcast and getting to talk to founders like yourself is, I'm quickly coming up to speed that for someone with ADHD, there is something that works, right? This body doubling, this having somebody next to you, but that's costly. That's a whole person. Could you pay a coat? Like all the things, right? Now we have technology, and this is like the confluence of fits, right? Between the customer, the solution, like being an app development agency, shipping this product in 8 weeks. And I love it. I love all the confluences of things that are happening here. I'm really excited for all the reasons. Like, I'm going to go share this with folks. I'm going to go sync you up with some investors I know. Like, this is really cool.
Thank you.
So thanks for putting all that out there. And if you're interested, well, we're going to do the call to action at the end, make sure everyone knows how to find you and whatnot. But yeah, I'm sure people listening in are going to want to know more. But let's switch gears. Let's get to the second segment, if you will, of our little show here, which is we're going to go take some of Jason's hard-won wisdom and knowledge from prior startups, agency life, building Comigo, and we're going to go answer some questions that real people on the internet are posting on subreddit, such that and the universe will guide us. Actually, the universe will guide us, and I will as well, because I've perused this infinite scroll and found a few questions that I think are slightly more interesting than others. Immigration, like moving to the US. Actually, that's a really big problem for so many people, right? Like the navigating. Like at some point, I hope we do bite off a question like that, right? I hear somebody here is asking B2B sales. You're not building a B2B startup. Maybe you do have some of that experience. But here's one that I thought you might be able to chew on, which is, and something I find near and dear, and I feel like we could answer this every week, which is, how do you validate ideas? Maybe so open-ended that you could take it 1,000 ways. And so Jason, if this one, we can't go wrong here, right? So how do you validate your hypotheses before building an MVP or build an MVP? But take it from the top. How do you validate your ideas, Jason?
Sure. Yeah, this is, I think, probably like the biggest thing that I've learned in the last few years, even though I thought I knew it when I had an agency, because I would always tell startups to do this and do that. And then when I had my last startup, I realized I didn't follow any of my own advice, because it's hard to do. But you don't get that when you're the person building things for other people. You don't necessarily get that part. So I would say validating ideas. That's one thing that I did, that I wanted to make sure right away in the beginning that we validated, even though I knew, I have a personal problem. So I started out in the groups that I'm in, like Facebook, ADHD groups that I've been part of for a while, and talking about things, and just sort of, just having conversations with a few people, and then sort of trying to flesh out some of the initial, issues. And then I created a quick type form survey, and then sent that out to, that was, I think, the initial 67 people I mentioned, and we got like 100 initial responses. But I put in there, like, trying to find like a real pain point, like, just what, and I didn't put in there, like, what are the things that bother you? In one of the surveys I sent out, I just said, like, what is one thing that bothers you? And I think another, I had 3, because I was really trying to hone in on that idea. And that's where I think I got a lot of the things that were, I use a Socratic method. So we'd start like, what's the problem? This is my problem. And they'd be like, well, why is that a problem? And then they would give you something deeper. So what happened is people were like, oh, I'm financial problems or something like that, or my relationship problems. And you're like, why? And then you go a little bit deep. Yeah. And you go a little bit deeper and then you would realize, because of ADHD, like your inconsistency or something, or mood changes, you're not consistent with income, or you're not consistent in having a job. And that creates sort of, you don't have that consistency for saving and all that, just one facet. And then that will turn into, a very tangible problem. And then what the problems were then, were things like shame. That was a big one, like shame, depression, anxiety. And then we even had like a couple people say they were like actively like contemplating suicide. So it was like really bad. Yeah.
I resonate so much with that. And again, like, I'm just reading this person's post, and there's like a mirror to yours, which is, I've encountered a problem that I can solve, right? You actually solved your problem. You did this in a non-scalable way, but you solved it. And now this post wants to find out if the other developer, the customer, him or her, actually, I will say, have the same problem. And that is the $1 million question. Does someone else have it? It's definitely positive that you've solved it, or it's solvable to a degree, right? It's definitely useful to both have the problem and have a hypothesis of a working solution, again, at least for you, right? That's a very strong foundation. Not everyone people start with pie in the sky ideas and they're not really grounded anywhere. So I'll give kudos to this person and to you, Jason, for starting in a very strong spot. But then this person could learn from what you did, which is finding groups and open-ended questions. I think is a big one in terms of not leading your witness, right?
Yep, exactly.
And I'll even double down on that, because even if you talk to strangers who don't know you, there's like a social contract where, like, I kind of know this person's doing something. I don't want to call their idea bad or their baby ugly or whatever, right? So there's a real temptation for anyone you're talking to just tell you, to lighten things, tell you what you want to hear, to whatever. And so I've always found that you as a founder need to go way out of your way to either structure questions so that they can't give you the wrong info, or just like somehow create a brutally honest situation. You asked why a lot, which I think is a really good way to go about it. But did you experience that? How did you navigate that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. It reminds me of a book, like I'm sure people have heard of the Mom Test. I can't remember the author's name, but I do remember that.
His name is Rob Fitzpatrick, actually.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a great book that really outlines how to do that. And I know at the time of my last startup, I read that book right before it, and I'm like, But you know what I think I did is I think people have a tendency, like, I think you fall in love with your ideas. Well, it would have been very hard for me with what I'm doing now with Comigo if the data wouldn't have backed up my assumptions, because that would have been just like, I would have been so bummed about that. But with my last startup, it was a tool for freelancers, for creatives. And I think when we did our initial feedback, our initial like small launches, or when we talked to people, we weren't getting like the info from people that was like, there was no like overwhelming anything. People were just like, and then they were like, oh, I don't use any tools, or I don't want to spend any money. It was all kinds of things. But I still like, I feel like I just pushed it through because I was like, no, I think it's like, sometimes it's a good thing, but I think in my case, it was a bad thing. But now with what we're doing, I just wanted to be very like data first. And I think people should look for those signs, because I never knew, like when I launched Comigo, everything sort of happened very quickly, and things were just happening that we weren't in a different magnitude than we were putting in the effort. So I think look for things like that. Look where things are coming back disproportionately better.
So your story is really interesting because you're building this like deeply felt thing, right? So you're building the kind of thing that you would probably hold on to even if the signals weren't good. It just so happens that the signals are really good, right? Exactly. It just so happens that you shipped really fast and got great signals. But shipping really fast is really the mechanism to allow yourself to say, hey, if it's not working, we're not going to force it, because we shipped this in 8 weeks, right? Like we didn't invest, years or months or of our lives or, our life savings. And so there's really nothing to substitute for just getting something. And again, the something can be a wrapper, it can be very simple, it can be a landing page, but get those there's a way to say it that comes from my old consulting days. The difference from a say test, people saying things, to a do test, doing things. And doing things is infinitely more validating than saying things, right? And
exactly.
So you guys, so how was that in your mind? Like you mentioned that even as you sent out your survey, you said 67 people got it and 100 people took it, which means they were doing something. They were sending it to more people, right? Or that's really, really cool. Like how else did you start to see those validation points in action? What did you do to kind of elicit that information?
Oh, sorry. Could you say that? I don't quite understand.
No. I guess I'm just using your story to highlight how, like, you found really great validation and how people were not just answering the survey, but sharing it with their friends and things like that. Did you just jump from a survey to a wait list? What was sort of the next step for you to get this thing live and launched?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I think we built out, I think we were talking to those people, and then we built out like our very first iteration. Yeah, because we scrapped some initial ideas we had. We had like a grid that I think it was Benjamin Franklin uses. I forgot what the priority grid is if you drag and drop. You know what I'm talking about? Like if something's urgent or not urgent or important.
I've heard that called the Eisenhower matrix.
There you go. Matrix. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we started out with that. And so, here's a classic example. Like this is what, in my head, I was like, this would be the best way to do it. You could do it that way, even though I knew the voice part. But then that got a lot of pushback because people were like, well, I don't want to, because then they were like, well, I thought the AI was going to prioritize and things like that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then, so that was like a feature I launched that I thought would be useful. But I guess I was just afraid to commit to fully to like the voice thing or like having like AI lead it. So, but that's something that users told us back, definitely strongly that they did not want that in there. So we got that out of there. That was interesting. And,
there's no substitute.
That's like one of the things. And then, we launched visceral sort of reaction from people.
Yeah, I broke up a little bit there, but I heard that last bit of visceral reaction. Yeah, there's no substitute for people reacting and responding and kind of telling you actually what they need and want and where to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I know you mentioned open-ended questions too. Yeah, which those are really good on fleshing out, finding deeper problems. But also then I feel like when you get down to certain things, I like to limit the number of options. So or like if you ask someone, I know like a net promoter score is like 1 to 10, but I usually try to keep things to like a 1 to 5 because I just feel like it's easier. Like someone's going to be like, it's most likely going to be a 1, 3, or a 5. You kind of get like, but then when you have a bigger scale, it's tougher. Or when you ask
there's
about
false
multiple
precision.
features
There's
or
false
things
precision.
like that.
Yeah. It clouds the data. There's like false precision and like, is it a 6.5 or 7 or it's people don't think like that, right? It's and interestingly, to be fair, net promoter score, the actual like thing basically says there's only 3 categories, right? There's promoters, there's like the neutrals, and then there's the detractors. And the theory is like actually only 9s and 10s count. Right? Like if somebody like likes you but only gives you an 8, they're actually not a promoter, right? So it's in that same vein, right? Like don't give people too many options, or you have to understand how to interpret the data. So Jason, we could probably go all day on this because validating is the fundamental topic. You're never done. Right? Even when you have metrics like yours and you're off to the races and people are clamoring to get in. So let's round out like this, Jason. How can people find you in Comigo? Where would you like to, how do people find you on the internet?
Yeah, I think just go to our website, so comigo.ai. So just COMIGO, which by the way is Portuguese for with me. So it's a meaningful name too. So I like that. But yeah, just go to our website and we have links to everything there. You can get on the wait list, and that will be opening up like very soon. I think like within a couple of weeks with a more fully featured version of the app launching at the end of September, even though we still have like quite a few months in our roadmap after that, but something more.
That's amazing. It's amazing. So I wouldn't, I would expect many things coming. End of September will be here before we know it. Go over to comigo.ai, get signed up, follow them on social media, and share it. Share it with your friends, anyone you know who has ADHD, and really just broadly, because like you said, this is sort of a very prevalent need, and I'm sure this is helpful for many, many, many people, right? I wouldn't even discount that. Yep. So with that, Jason, thanks for spending time today. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and for sharing about Comigo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.
The Backseat Startup Podcast is brought to you by Startup Founder Daily, a platform to showcase your startup and compete for free PR. Head over to startupfounderdaily.com to submit your company. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Andrew, one of the founders of Day One, and we offer personalized founder coaching tailored to help founders get close to their customers, nail your pitch, and map out next steps to grow your business and raise capital. You can go over to joinday1.com to check out what we do and how we've helped over 500 founders to date. Use code SFD250 for $250 off the program fee.